My grandson squatted in my backyard for 6 months and demanded $50,000 to leave. I smiled, sold the house to a hotel developer, and flew to Italy. The next morning, the power was cut and the windows were boarded up. Eviction, the buyer said. No, this is a demolition. The heat in Savannah, Georgia is not just a temperature, it is a physical weight. It hangs in the air, thick with the scent of jasmine and pluff mud, pressing down on the Spanish moss that drapes over the live oaks like old lace. For 74 years, I have lived in this heat. I was born in the upstairs bedroom of this Victorian house on Jones Street. I watched my parents die here. I watched my husband, Robert, pass away in the sunroom. I thought I knew every ghost in this house. I was wrong. The worst ghosts are the ones that are still breathing, the ones you invite in yourself, thinking they are family. My name is Evelyn Vance. I am a retired librarian, a member of the Savannah Garden Club, and, as of 6 months ago, a prisoner in my own home. On this particular Tuesday morning, I stood on my back porch clutching a pair of pruning shears. My hands were trembling, and it was not from the arthritis that sometimes plagues my knuckles in the rain. It was from pure, unadulterated rage. I looked out at my garden. It was my sanctuary. For 40 years I had cultivated it. I had prize-winning camellias, hydrangeas that I turned a specific shade of blue by burying pennies in the soil, and a row of General Lee azaleas that had been propagated from cuttings my grandmother took in 1922. And parked directly on top of those azaleas was a neon green Jeep Wrangler. The tires were deep in the soft earth, churning the roots into a black, muddy paste. The bumper was crushing the blooms I had been nurturing for the spring show. "Oh no," I whispered, stepping off the porch. "No, no, no." I walked toward the vehicle. It belonged to Jade. Jade was 25 years old. She called herself a content creator. She had hair that changed colour every week. Currently it was a shade of pink that reminded me of undercooked shrimp, and a voice that could strip paint off a wall. She was also the girlfriend of my grandson, Kyle. Kyle was my heart, or at least he used to be. I raised him after my daughter passed away. I wiped his nose. I paid for his braces. I sat in the bleachers for every single one of his baseball games, cheering until my throat was raw. He had been a sweet boy, a gentle boy. But then he met Jade, and then he asked for a favor. "Just 2 weeks, Grandma," he had said 6 months ago, standing on my doorstep with a suitcase and a pleading look in his eyes. "Our new apartment complex is delayed. We just need a place to crash while the lease is finalized. We will stay in the carriage house. You won't even know we are here." I had said yes. Of course I said yes. He was family. 6 months later, the 2 weeks had stretched into an eternity. The lease on their apartment never materialized because, as I later found out, neither of them had steady income to qualify for it. They had moved into my carriage house, a charming detached guest cottage at the back of the property, and they had taken root like kudzu. I reached the Jeep. I tapped on the window with my shears. "Kyle!" I called out. "Jade! Move this car immediately." The back door of the carriage house opened. Jade stepped out. She was wearing oversized sunglasses and a silk robe, holding a coffee mug that said, "Boss Babe." She held up a hand, silencing me. "Shh, Evelyn," she said. She never called me Mrs. Vance, and she certainly never called me Grandma. Just Evelyn. "I am filming a story. The lighting is perfect, right here." "You are parked on my azaleas," I said, my voice shaking. "These are heritage plants. You are killing them." "It is just dirt, Evelyn," Jade sighed, rolling her eyes behind the dark lenses. "Relax. It is an aesthetic. The Jeep looks rugged against the flowers. It is a vibe." "It is trespassing," I snapped. "I told you last week, do not park on the grass. Use the lane." Kyle walked out behind her. He looked tired. He was wearing pajama pants and a t-shirt I had bought him for Christmas 3 years ago. "Hey, Grandma," he mumbled, scratching his head. "What is the yelling about? It is 10 o'clock in the morning." Your girlfriend is destroying my garden, Kyle, I said, pointing at the crushed flowers. Move the vehicle. Now. Kyle looked at Jade. He looked at me. I saw the hesitation in his eyes. He was terrified of her. Babe, Kyle said softly. Maybe we should move it? Grandma really likes those bushes. They are azaleas, I corrected. Whatever, Jade snapped. Fine, I will move it later. I have to edit this reel first. The algorithm waits for no one. She turned around and walked back into the carriage house. She didn't apologize. She didn't look at the destruction. She just dismissed me like I was the gardener. Kyle gave me a helpless shrug. Sorry, Grandma, he whispered. She is stressed. Her engagement is down this week. Kyle, I said, stepping closer. This has to end. It has been 6 months. You have paid 0 rent. You are eating my food. You are using my electricity to charge that electric car of hers. And now you are destroying my property. When are you leaving? Kyle wouldn't meet my eyes. Soon, he said. We are looking. It is just... The market is tough right now. He turned and followed Jade inside. The door slammed shut. I stood there in the humidity, listening to the buzz of the cicadas and the thumping bass of the music Jade had just turned on. I walked over to the carriage house door. I needed to retrieve something. My grandmother's antique quilt was in there. I had lent it to Kyle on the first night because it was chilly, but I wanted it back. I didn't want it smelling like their vape smoke and that awful incense Jade burned. I reached for the door handle. I inserted my key, the master key that opened every door on the property. I turned it. It didn't turn. I frowned. I jiggled it. I pulled it out and tried again. The key would not turn. I leaned down and looked at the lock. It was new. It was a shiny silver digital lock with a keypad. It was not the brass hardware that had been on this door for 50 years. They had changed the locks. My heart hammered against my ribs. I knocked on the door. Hard. Kyle, I shouted, I'll open this door. A moment later, the door opened a crack. The chain was on. Jade's face appeared in the gap, but she wasn't looking at me with her eyes. She was looking at me through the screen of her iPhone. The camera lens was pointed directly at my face. The red light was blinking. Why are you screaming, Evelyn? She asked, her voice taking on a fake, terrified tremble. You are scaring us. You changed the locks, I said, staring at the phone. Stop filming me. Put that down. I am documenting this for our safety, Jade said. You are being aggressive. You are trying to break into our home. This is my home, I shouted, losing my temper for the first time in years. This is my carriage house. My name is on the deed. You are guests. Actually, Jade said, a smirk curling the corner of her lips, we are tenants. We have lived here for more than 30 days. We receive mail here. That establishes residency in the state of Georgia. You cannot enter without 24 hours written notice, and you certainly cannot change the locks or try to force your way in. That is illegal. I lent you a quilt, I said, feeling lightheaded. I just want my quilt back. We are using it, Jade said. It fits the boho chic vibe of the bedroom. Now please leave, or I will have to call the police and report a landlord harassment incident. She slammed the door. I heard the deadbolt slide home. I stood there staring at the wood grain. I felt sick. They weren't just lazy, they were calculated. They knew the laws better than I did. They had turned my kindness into a weapon, and now they were pointing it right at my chest. If you have ever opened your home to someone out of the goodness of your heart, only to have them steal your peace, destroy your sanctuary, and then laugh in your face when you ask for basic respect, hit that like button right now. Because I know exactly how that fire feels in your stomach. It is the feeling of betrayal, and it burns hotter than the Georgia sun. I walked back to the main house. I went into the library and poured myself a glass of sweet tea. My hands were shaking so badly I spilled some on the mahogany desk. I couldn't live like this. I couldn't have them in my backyard, mocking me, destroying my flowers, filming me for their internet followers. I made a decision then and there. If I couldn't get them out, I would get myself out. I picked up the phone book. I turned to the page for real estate agents. I called Mrs. Gable. She was the premier agent in the historic district. She had sold the Mercer house. If anyone could sell this place quickly, it was her. "Eleanor," I said when she answered. "It is Evelyn Vance. I want to list the house." "Evelyn?" She sounded shocked. "But that house has been in your family for 3 generations. You always said you would die there." "I changed my mind," I said, looking out the window at the neon green Jeep. "I want to move. I want to go somewhere quiet. Maybe Italy. Can you sell it fast?" "The market is hot, Evelyn," Eleanor said. "A Victorian on Jones Street. I can have it sold in a week, but we need to stage it. We need it pristine." "The main house is pristine," I said. "But the carriage house is occupied." "Occupied?" "My grandson," I said, "and his girlfriend. They are difficult." "Well," Eleanor hesitated, "we will just have to work around them. Maybe offer them a little bonus to be scarce during the open house." "I will try," I said. 3 days later, the sign was in the yard. "For sale. By appointment only." I told Kyle and Jade the news. "I am selling the house," I said, standing on the porch while they ate Uber Eats on my patio furniture. "You can't sell the house," Kyle said, dropping his taco. "Where will we live?" "You are young," I said. "You will figure it out. The new owners will take possession in 30 days. You need to be gone by then." Jade didn't look worried. She looked at the for sale sign, and then she looked at me. Her eyes were cold, like a shark sensing blood in the water. "Good luck with that, Evelyn," she said. The day of the open house arrived on a Sunday. Eleanor Gable arrived early. She filled the house with fresh flowers, bought from the florist since mine were crushed. She baked cookies in the oven to make it smell like home. Potential buyers started arriving at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There were young couples from New York looking for a renovation project. There were retirees from Florida. There was a wealthy doctor who loved the architecture. I sat in the kitchen trying to stay out of the way. I heard Eleanor in the hallway extolling the virtues of the original heart pine floors and the 12-foot ceilings. "And of course," Eleanor's voice drifted in, "the property includes a charming detached carriage house, perfect for a rental income or a mother-in-law's suite." "Can we see it?" a man's voice asked. "Certainly," Eleanor said. "Let's walk out to the garden." I held my breath. I had texted Kyle and begged him to clean up. I had even slipped a $100 bill under the door as a bribe. I walked to the kitchen window to watch. Eleanor led the group of 6 buyers toward the carriage house. The door flew open before they even reached the steps. Jade stepped out. She wasn't wearing her silk robe today. She was wearing a gas mask, a full rubber industrial gas mask. She was also wearing a Tyvek suit, a white hazmat suit that looked like something out of a disaster movie. She held up a cardboard sign. On it, painted in dripping red paint, were the words, "Toxic black mold. Do not enter." "What in the world?" Eleanor gasped, stopping in her tracks. "Go back," Jade screamed through the mask. Her voice was muffled but audible. "It is in the walls. The spores are everywhere. She refuses to fix it. Save yourselves." The buyers recoiled. "Is that true?" the doctor asked Eleanor, looking horrified. "No," Eleanor stammered. "Absolutely not. There is no mold. This is the owner's granddaughter. She is just—" "I am a victim," Jade yelled, ripping off the mask to reveal a face covered in fake theatrical makeup that made her look pale and sickly. She coughed, a loud, hacking, wet cough. "We have been coughing up blood for weeks. Evelyn Vance is a slumlord. She knows the foundation is cracking. She knows the pipes are lead. She is trying to dump this death trap on you." Kyle stepped out behind her. He wasn't wearing a hazmat suit, but he was wearing a neck brace. "My neck!" Kyle groaned, playing his part in this grotesque theatre. "The floorboards gave way. I fell through the floor." "Oh my God," one of the buyers whispered. "Let's go. Honey, get the kids." "Wait," Eleanor pleaded. "Please, this is a stunt. The inspection report is clean." But it was too late. The seed of doubt had been planted, and in real estate, doubt is fatal. The buyers turned and fled. They practically ran back to their cars. Jade stood on the steps of the carriage house watching them go. She smiled. She gave Eleanor a little wave. "Have a nice day," she chirped. Eleanor walked back to the main house. She looked pale. She came into the kitchen where I was sitting. "Evelyn," she said, closing her briefcase, "I cannot sell this house." "Eleanor, please," I begged. "It was a lie. You know it was a lie." "It doesn't matter," she said. "She created a scene. She made allegations of environmental hazards. By law, I now have to disclose that a tenant has claimed there is mold, even if I know there isn't. No one will touch this property with a 10-foot pole until they are evicted." "Then I will evict them," I said. "In Chatham County." Eleanor shook her head sadly. "The courts are backed up for 6 to 8 months, and with her claiming health hazards, she will drag it out for a year. I am sorry, Evelyn. I have to terminate the listing. I have a reputation to protect." She left. I sat alone in the kitchen. The smell of the cookies was sickeningly sweet now. The back door opened. Jade and Kyle walked in. They didn't knock. They helped themselves to the cookies on the counter. "That went well," Jade said, munching on a snickerdoodle. "How could you?" I whispered. "How could you lie like that, wearing a gas mask?" "It is called guerrilla marketing, Evelyn," Jade said. "Or rather demarketing. We like living here. The location is great for my brand. We aren't ready to move." "I want you out," I said, standing up. "I want you out today." Jade laughed. She pulled a piece of paper from her pocket. "We know our rights, Grandma," Kyle said, looking at the floor. He sounded like he was reciting a script Jade had written for him. "You can't kick us out. We have established tenancy." "However," Jade interrupted, smoothing out the paper on the island, "we are reasonable people. We know you want your privacy." She pushed the paper toward me. "What is this?" I asked. "It is a cash for keys agreement," Jade said. "It is a standard real estate practice. If you want us to waive our tenant rights and vacate the property voluntarily within 30 days, we require a relocation assistance fee." I looked at the number written on the bottom line. $50,000. $50,000? I gasped. "You want me to pay you $50,000 to leave my own house?" "Moving is expensive," Jade shrugged, "and we need a down payment for a condo, plus emotional distress damages for the mold." She winked. "You are extorting me," I said. "We are negotiating," she corrected. "Think about it, Evelyn. You can pay us, and we leave. Or you can fight us in court for a year, spend thousands on lawyers, and we will live in your backyard for free the entire time. And every time you try to show the house, I will have a new costume. Next time, maybe I will be a ghost possession victim." She took another cookie. "Come on, Kyle," she said. "Let's go edit the footage. The Slumlord Grandma video is going to go viral on TikTok." They walked out. I watched them go. I looked at the paper. $50,000. I had the money. I could pay it. I could write the check and be done with them. But as I looked at the crumbs on my counter and the muddy footprints they had left on my floor, I realized something. It wasn't about the money. It was about the disrespect. It was about the cruelty. It was about the fact that they looked at me and saw nothing but a checkbook with a pulse. I crumpled the paper in my hand. "No," I whispered to the empty room. "I will not pay you." I wasn't going to give them $50,000. I wasn't going to give them a single dime. I walked to the trash can and threw the paper away. Then I walked to the phone. I wasn't going to call a lawyer. Lawyers were too slow. Lawyers followed the rules. I needed someone who didn't care about rules. I needed someone who viewed a house not as a home, but as a pile of bricks standing in the way of a profit. I remembered the man who owned the boutique hotel next door. The man who had been trying to buy my corner lot for 10 years so he could bulldoze it and build a parking deck, Mr. Rourke. I had always told him no. I had told him over my dead body. Well, I felt dead inside. So maybe it was time to say yes. I dialed his number. "Mr. Rourke's office," a secretary answered. "This is Evelyn Vance," I said. "Put him on the line." "Mrs. Vance?" The secretary sounded surprised. "One moment." A click. Then a deep, gravelly voice. Evelyn, Mr. Rourke said, to what do I owe the pleasure? Did you finally get tired of pruning those azaleas? I am tired of everything, Mr. Rourke, I said. Are you still interested in the property? Always, he said. Name your price. I have a price, I said, and I have a condition. What is the condition? The house comes with accessories, I said. I want to sell it as is. Where is? Occupied. There was a pause. Then, Rourke chuckled. A low, dark sound. Occupied? He asked. You mean squatters? I mean family, I said. Can you handle that? Evelyn, Rourke said, I don't evict people. I demolish buildings. If you sell to me, you understand what happens. I am not looking for tenants. I am looking for a construction site. I understand perfectly, I said. Then we have a deal, he said. Come to my office tomorrow. Bring the deed. I hung up the phone. I looked out the window at the carriage house. The music was thumping again. Enjoy the music while you can, I whispered, because the demolition crew was coming. And they played a very different kind of tune. The library of my house was usually my sanctuary. It was lined with floor-to-ceiling shelves made of dark walnut, filled with first editions and the smell of old paper and beeswax. It was the place where I had read Goodnight Moon to Kyle when he was a toddler, his head resting heavy and warm on my shoulder. Now it was a war room. I sat at the desk, staring at the wall. The bass from the carriage house was thumping so hard that the crystal decanter on the side table was vibrating. Thump, thump, thump. It was the heartbeat of my anxiety. Jade and Kyle had won the first round. They had scared off the buyers. They had terrified the realtor. They had weaponized the very laws meant to protect vulnerable people and used them to hold an old woman hostage in her own home. $50,000, that was the ransom. If you have ever felt the walls closing in on you, if you have ever realized that the people you love have turned into strangers who view you as nothing more than an obstacle to their inheritance, hit that subscribe button right now. Because I was done being the victim. I was done being the polite Southern grandmother who baked cookies and turned the other cheek. I looked at the portrait of my late husband, Robert, hanging above the fireplace. Robert had been a gentle man, but he had a saying. If you cannot untie the knot, Evelyn, cut the rope. I stood up. I smoothed the skirt of my floral dress. I put on my white gloves, not because I was going to a tea party, but because I didn't want to leave fingerprints on the weapon I was about to fire. I walked out the front door. I didn't take my car. I didn't need to. I walked down the sidewalk, past the wrought iron fences and the ancient oak trees, to the corner of the block. There, looming over the historic district, like a glass monolith, was the headquarters of Rourke Development. Mr. Rourke was a man the Historical Society called a vandal. They said he had no respect for history. They said he only cared about concrete and profit. For 10 years I had agreed with them. Today I hoped they were right. I walked into the lobby. It was freezing cold, air-conditioned to a sterile 68 degrees. It smelled of ozone and money. I am here to see Mr. Rourke, I told the receptionist. My name is Evelyn Vance. He is expecting me. She buzzed me through. Mr. Rourke's office was on the top floor. One wall was entirely glass, overlooking the city. From here I could see my house. It looked small, vulnerable. A dollhouse waiting to be crushed. Mr. Rourke was standing by the window. He was a large man wearing a suit that cost more than my first car. He turned around when I entered. He didn't smile. Sharks do not smile before they eat. Mrs. Vance, he said, please, sit. I sat in a black leather chair. It was uncomfortable. You said on the phone you are ready to sell, Rourke said, skipping the pleasantries. I have the contract right here, standard offer, $1.5 million for the land, we bulldoze the structure. I have a counter-offer, I said. Rourke raised an eyebrow. You want more money? Evelyn, the market is softening. I want less, I said. Rourke froze. He leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. Excuse me. I will sell it to you for $1.2 million, I said. $300,000 under market value. A discount. Why? Rourke asked suspiciously. What is wrong with it? Termites? Sinkhole? Squatters, I said. Rourke sat back. He laughed. It was a dry, dismissive sound. Tenants? He asked. Evelyn, I buy occupied buildings all the time. I have lawyers. We serve notices. We buy them out. It takes time, but it is just paperwork. These are not normal tenants, I said. This is my grandson and his girlfriend. They are professional grifters. They have already chased off a residential sale by faking an environmental hazard. They are claiming mold. They are claiming rights. They want $50,000 cash for keys. I paused. I looked him in the eye. And I do not want them to have a single penny. Rourke looked at me. For the first time, I saw a flicker of respect in his eyes. He recognized the steel beneath the lace. So, Rourke said, you want to dump the problem on me. I am offering you a $300,000 discount to take the problem off my hands, I corrected. But there is a condition, a specific timeline. Go on. I want to sign the papers today, I said, but I do not want the transfer to be public until Friday. That gives me 3 days to pack my things quietly. On Friday morning at 9 o'clock, I will leave. At 9:05, you take possession. And the occupants? They will still be there, I said. Sleeping. Probably drinking my orange juice. Rourke tapped his pen on the desk. He looked out the window at my house. You understand what I do, Evelyn? He asked quietly. I am not a landlord. I do not collect rent. I redevelop. If I buy that land, I am filing for a demolition permit immediately. The city has already pre-approved the commercial zoning for my hotel expansion. The moment the deed transfers, that house is no longer a residence. It is a construction site. I understand, I said. Residential tenant laws are strong, Rourke continued, but they have a weakness. They rely on the building being a habitable dwelling. If I have a permit that says the building is condemned for commercial demolition, well, it ceases to be a dwelling. It becomes a hazard. He smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a bulldozer. I don't bring eviction notices, Mrs. Vance, he said. I bring a utility crew to cut the power. I bring a fencing crew to secure the perimeter. And I bring the police to remove trespassers from a hard hat zone. That sounds thorough, I said. It is violent, Rourke warned me. Legally speaking. They will be on the street in an hour. No notice, no cash for keys. Just get out or get arrested. Are you sure you want to do that to your own blood? I thought about the azaleas crushed under the Jeep. I thought about the gas mask. I thought about Jade filming me through the door crack, treating my distress like content for her followers. My blood, I said, standing up, is in the garden he destroyed. Kyle chose his side. I am choosing mine. Okay, Rourke said. He opened a drawer and pulled out a thick file. Let's sign. I signed the papers. My hand didn't shake this time. The ink flowed smoothly. Grantor, Evelyn Vance. Grantee, Rourke Commercial Holdings. Property condition, as is, occupied. The funds will be wired to your account on Friday morning, Rourke said. $1.2 million. Thank you, I said. One more thing, Rourke said as I reached the door. Don't tip them off. If they file an injunction before the deed records, it could slow me down. Keep them comfortable. Make them think they won. Oh, Mr. Rourke, I said, adjusting my gloves. I was a librarian for 40 years. I know how to be quiet. I walked back home. The heat had risen. The humidity was oppressive. As I walked up the driveway, I saw Jade. She was sitting on the front porch of the main house, my front porch, on the swing. She had her laptop open. She was editing a video. She looked up as I approached. Where have you been, Evelyn? She asked. We were worried you ran off to the nursing home. I went for a walk, I said, to clear my head. Good, she said. Did you think about our offer? 50,000. It is a steal, really. We could ask for more. I walked up the steps. I sat down on the wicker chair opposite her. I slumped my shoulders. I let my face fall into a mask of utter defeat. You win, I whispered. Jade stopped typing. She looked at me. Her eyes lit up. Excuse me. I cannot fight you, I said. I am 74 years old. I don't have the energy for court. I don't have the energy to argue about mold or locks or gas masks. You beat me. Jade grinned. She closed her laptop. I told you, Kyle, she shouted over her shoulder toward the open door. Come out here. She is cracking. Kyle wandered out, eating a sandwich. What? He mumbled. Evelyn is surrendering, Jade crowed. So are you writing the check? 50,000? No, I said. I don't have $50,000 cash. Not liquid. Jade's face fell. Then what good are you? I took the house off the market. I lied. I called Eleanor Gable and told her to cancel the listing. I am not selling. Okay, Jade said slowly. So we can stay. You can stay, I said. I am going to downsize. I have too much stuff in this big house. I am going to spend the next few days packing up my personal items, my books, my photo albums. I am going to move them to storage. Why? Kyle asked. Because, I said, looking at him with sad, tired eyes. If you two are going to live here permanently, well, I guess we need to make room. Maybe you can move into the main house eventually. The carriage house is small. Jade gasped. She looked at Kyle. She looked at the sprawling Victorian mansion behind me. You mean it? She asked. We can have the main house. Eventually, I said. I just need to clear out. I will just live in the back bedroom, keep to myself. Oh my God, Jade squealed. Babe, did you hear that? We can put the studio in the parlour. The acoustics are amazing. That is great, Grandma, Kyle said, smiling. Really, it will be like old times. We can take care of you. Take care of me, I repeated. Yes, I am sure you will. This is amazing. Jade stood up, pacing excitedly. I need to do a house tour video. My Victorian renovation. We can paint over this awful wallpaper. We can rip out these dusty carpets. The carpets are Persian, I said weakly. They are dated, Jade dismissed. We will do hardwood. White oak, very minimalist. She looked at me. You are packing, right? She asked. Like starting today? Yes, I said. I have a lot of boxes. It will take me until Friday to get everything out. Friday, Jade nodded. Okay, Friday is good. We can help you move the heavy stuff. Maybe we can have a garage sale. Get rid of some of this junk? Maybe, I said. I am going to measure the dining room, Jade announced. I want to see if my Peloton fits in there. She ran inside the house. My house. She didn't even wipe her feet. Kyle lingered on the porch. He looked at me. For a second, I saw a flicker of guilt. Grandma, he said, are you sure about this? You look sad. I am just accepting reality, Kyle, I said. You and Jade have shown me that I have no power here. I am just doing what I have to do. It will be cool, he promised. We will make the place look awesome. You won't even recognize it. No, I said softly. I don't suppose I will. He went inside. I sat on the porch alone. I listened to them inside. I heard Jade's voice echoing in the hallway. This chandelier has to go. It is so tacky, and we need to knock down this wall to open up the flow. They were planning their renovations. They were planning their future in my legacy. They had no idea that their lease expired in 72 hours. I stood up. I went into the house. I walked past them in the hallway. They ignored me. I went upstairs to my bedroom. I pulled my vintage leather suitcases out of the closet. I started packing, but I wasn't packing for storage. I wasn't packing to move to the back bedroom. I packed my jewellery, I packed my passport, I packed the urn containing Robert's ashes, I packed the cat carrier for mittens. I packed only the things that mattered, the things that could not be replaced. The furniture, the rugs, the china. Let them have it. Let them think they inherited a kingdom. They didn't understand that a kingdom is nothing without the land it stands on. And on Friday morning, the land was going to disappear from under their feet. I folded a silk scarf and placed it in the suitcase. Downstairs, I heard a loud crash. Oops, Jade yelled. Just broke a vase. Don't worry, Evelyn, it was ugly anyway. I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. That is all right, dear, I whispered to the empty room. Break whatever you want. I zipped the suitcase shut. 3 days. I just had to endure 3 more days of their victory lap. And then, the wall would come down. Friday morning in Savannah arrived with a heaviness that signaled a coming storm. The sky was a bruised purple and the air was thick enough to chew. It was the kind of weather that makes old bones ache and young tempers flare. I was ready. I stood in the foyer of the main house at 8:45 in the morning. I was wearing my best travelling suit, a cream-coloured linen number that I had bought in 1998 for a trip to Paris that Robert and I never got to take. I wore a silk scarf around my neck and my large sunglasses. Next to me were 2 large leather suitcases and a cat carrier containing Mittens, who was currently asleep, sedated by a mild, calming treat from the vet. I took one last look around the house. The hallway was cluttered with Jade's things. There were tripod stands, ring lights, and boxes of protein powder stacked against the wainscoting. The Persian rug in the parlour was rolled up in the corner, replaced by a cheap yoga mat. It didn't hurt me to see it. It felt like looking at the shell of a cicada, something that used to contain life but was now just dry, brittle skin. The soul of the house was already gone. It was packed in my suitcase. I walked out the front door. Kyle and Jade were on the porch. They were celebrating. Jade had a bottle of champagne open. My champagne, a vintage Dom Perignon I had been saving for my 75th birthday. She was pouring it into 2 orange juice glasses. "Morning, Evelyn," Jade chirped. She looked triumphant. She looked like a queen surveying her conquered territory. "You are up early, moving day?" "Yes," I said. "Moving day. We made a list of the furniture we want to keep," Kyle said, his mouth full of a croissant. "The rest goes to storage, right? When are the movers coming for your stuff?" "The taxi is here," I said, pointing to the yellow cab idling at the curb. The driver, a nice young man, was already walking up the path to get my bags. "A taxi?" Jade laughed. "You are taking a taxi to the storage unit? That seems expensive." I watched the driver load my suitcases into the trunk. He placed Mittens gently in the back seat. I turned to face them one last time. "I am not going to a storage unit," I said. "Oh?" Jade took a sip of the champagne. "Where are you going, then?" "The nursing home." "Florence," I said. "Florence, Alabama?" Kyle asked. "Florence, Italy," I corrected. "I have a one-way ticket. My flight leaves from Atlanta in 4 hours." Jade lowered her glass. She frowned. The math wasn't adding up in her head. "Italy?" she asked. "For how long?" "Forever," I said. "But," Kyle stammered, "what about the house? Who is going to pay the bills? Who is going to cook dinner?" I smiled. It was the lightest I had felt in months. "That is not my problem anymore, Kyle," I said. "I told you I was downsizing. I didn't say I was keeping the property." "What do you mean?" Jade stepped forward, her eyes narrowing. "You said you took it off the market. You said we could have the main house." "I lied," I said simply. "You can't lie to us," Jade shrieked. "We have a verbal contract." "And I have a written contract," I said, "with the new owner." "You sold it," Kyle gasped. "But we are still here. You can't sell it with us here. The buyers ran away." "I found a buyer who didn't run," I said. "I sold the house, Kyle. The closing was yesterday. The wire transfer hit my account this morning. $1.2 million. Cash." Jade dropped her glass. It shattered on the porch steps. Orange juice and expensive champagne splashing onto her bare feet. "You sold it?" she screamed. "To who? They have to honor our lease. We have rights. We have residency. We aren't going anywhere." "I know," I said. "I told the new owner you would be here. He said he couldn't wait to meet you." I walked down the steps, careful not to step on the broken glass. "Who is it?" Kyle yelled after me. "Grandma! Who bought the house?" I opened the taxi door. I looked back at the beautiful Victorian mansion that had held my family for 100 years. "Check the time, Kyle," I said. "It is 9 o'clock. He is very punctual." I got into the taxi. "Go," I told the driver, "and don't look back." As the taxi pulled away from the curb, I saw a convoy turning onto Jones Street from the avenue. It wasn't a moving van. It wasn't a family SUV. It was a parade of yellow iron. Leading the pack was a black Range Rover. Behind it was a flatbed truck carrying a massive excavator with a claw bucket. Behind that was a dump truck. And behind that was a utility truck with the logo of the power company. On the side of the trucks, in bold black letters, was the name, Rourke Commercial Holdings. I settled back into the seat. I stroked mittens through the carrier bars. Arrivederci, I whispered. Back on the porch, the confusion was turning into panic. Jade and Kyle watched as the heavy machinery rumbled down the quiet, historic street. The ground shook. The crystal chandelier in the foyer tinkled. "What is that?" Jade asked, her voice trembling. "Is that construction?" The convoy stopped directly in front of the house. The air brakes hissed loudly. Psh! The door of the Range Rover opened. Mr. Rourke stepped out. He was wearing a hard hat and a neon safety vest over his expensive suit. He held a clipboard in one hand and a megaphone in the other. He didn't walk up the path. He walked to the middle of the yard, right onto the grass. He lifted the megaphone. "Attention occupants," his voice boomed, echoing off the historic brickwork. "This is a hard hat area. Please vacate the premises immediately." Kyle ran down the steps. "Hey!" he shouted. "You can't park those trucks here. This is a private residence. My grandmother lives here." Rourke lowered the megaphone. He signalled to the foreman behind him. "Cut it," Rourke said. The man from the utility company walked to the side of the house with a long pole. He reached up to the main transformer. Clack. The hum of the air conditioner died instantly. The lights inside the house went black. The Wi-Fi router, which Jade relied on for her live stream, went dead. "Hey!" Jade screamed, running down the stairs. "You just cut our power. That is illegal. It is a utility violation. I am calling the police." Rourke smiled. He walked toward them. He looked like a mountain moving. "You can call the police," Rourke said calmly. "In fact, I have a detail arriving in 5 minutes to secure the perimeter." "Who are you?" Jade demanded, pulling out her phone to record. "I am live right now. Tell my followers why you are harassing 2 innocent tenants." "I am the owner," Rourke said. "My name is Silas Rourke. I bought this property as of yesterday." "Then you are my landlord," Jade smirked, thinking she had him trapped. "And you cannot turn off the power. That is a constructive eviction. I will sue you for every penny you have." Rourke laughed. It was a terrifying sound. "I am not a landlord, young lady," Rourke said. "And this is not a house. Not anymore." He pulled a document from his clipboard and slapped it onto the porch column. It was a bright orange sticker. Notice of demolition. Permit number 884C. Hazardous site. "This property has been rezoned for commercial expansion," Rourke explained, his voice devoid of any sympathy. "As of 9 o'clock this morning, the structure is slated for abatement and demolition to make way for the hotel parking deck. It is no longer a residential dwelling. It is a pile of debris that hasn't fallen down yet." You are tearing it down?" Kyle whispered, his face draining of colour. "On Monday," Rourke said. "Today is site prep. We are removing the windows, the copper wiring and the plumbing, which means you are currently standing inside a condemned industrial zone without safety gear." "We live here," Jade shrieked. "You have to evict us." "Eviction is for tenants in a home," Rourke said, stepping closer to her. "You are trespassers on a construction site, and my insurance policy does not allow civilians in the blast zone." He signalled the foreman. "Board it up," Rourke ordered. 6 men jumped out of the trucks. They were carrying sheets of plywood and cordless drills. They marched toward the house. "No!" Jade screamed, blocking the door. "My stuff is in there. My Peloton. My studio." "You have 20 minutes to remove personal items," Rourke checked his watch. "After that, the doors are sealed for asbestos abatement. Anything left inside goes to the landfill." "20 minutes?" Kyle yelled. "We have furniture. We have beds." "Then you better start carrying," Rourke said. The drills started whining. Whirzzed. The first sheet of plywood went up over the living room window, plunging the parlour into darkness. "This isn't real," Jade sobbed, looking at her phone which had no signal. Evelyn wouldn't do this. She loved this house. She loved it enough to sell it to me, Rourke said. She said you wanted $50,000? Jade looked up, hopeful. Yes, if you pay us, we will leave. Rourke reached into his pocket. He pulled out a $20 bill. He dropped it on the grass. Here is cab fare, Rourke said. Now get off my dirt. A police cruiser pulled up to the curb. 2 officers stepped out. They weren't there to arrest Rourke. They were there to enforce the commercial permit. Officer! Jade yelled, running to them. He is destroying our home. This is a commercial demo site, ma'am, the officer said, looking at Rourke's permit. The building is condemned. You need to vacate for your own safety. But where do we go? Kyle asked, crying now. I suggest a hotel, Rourke said. My hotel next door has vacancies. The rate is $400 a night. No discounts for family. The drilling got louder. The water was shut off at the main valve in the street. Kyle and Jade ran into the house. They scrambled in the dark, grabbing armfuls of clothes, Jade's ring lights, and their laptops. They dragged them out onto the lawn, throwing them into a pile next to the crushed azaleas. They didn't have time for the Peloton. They didn't have time for the bed. 20 minutes later, the front door was boarded shut with a sheet of 3/4-inch plywood. Kyle and Jade stood on the sidewalk surrounded by a pile of junk, watching as the excavator rolled onto the lawn, its treads tearing up the grass where they used to park the Jeep. They were homeless, they were penniless, and they had absolutely no one to call. I was 30,000 feet over the Atlantic Ocean when the stewardess brought me a glass of red wine. I adjusted my seat to the full recline position. Mittens was asleep in the carrier at my feet. I opened the window shade. The sky was a brilliant, endless blue. I thought about the house. I thought about the history. It hurt a little knowing it would be gone. But then I remembered the gas mask. I remembered the extortion. I remembered the way Jade looked at me, like I was a resource to be mined. I took a sip of the wine. It was a Chianti, robust, complex. I pulled out my phone. I had one last message to send before I changed my number. I opened the text thread with Kyle. To Kyle. From Grandma. Kyle, I hope the move went smoothly. Mr. Rourke is very efficient. I left something for you. In the garden. Under the azaleas you destroyed. It is a packet of seeds. Forget-me-nots. Plant them somewhere else. Nothing grows in that soil anymore. I am blocking this number now. Do not come to Italy. I have told the Carabinieri that I have a stalker. Goodbye. I hit send. Then I turned off the phone. I dropped it into my empty glass. Excuse me, I signalled the stewardess. I am done with this. She took the glass and the phone away. I closed my eyes. I could see the hills of Tuscany in my mind. I could see a small cottage with a garden of tomatoes and basil. A garden where no one would ever park a Jeep. I was 74 years old. I had lost my house. I had lost my family. But as the plane chased the sun toward the horizon, I smiled. I had never felt more at home.